If you love boxing, you're gonna love this.
Well, hello and welcome to episode 10 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host, Dev Sani, and with me today is a man who, well, quite frankly, I have run out of superlatives to describe him. Let's put it this way, he puts the zing in boxing. It's Mr. Steve Lillis.
Hey, afternoon, Dev. Morning, Dev. Evening, Dev. Hello, Dev. We're 10th podcasting.
Yeah.
10 not out, mate. Magnificent 10, eh? And let's keep it going, eh? Let's keep firing in them big interviews, getting those big names and talking to the boxing world.
Absolutely. Well, speaking about talking to the boxing world and big name interviews, I've tried to bring one to the podcast this week and it hasn't worked. I have reached out to referee Steve Willis, the ref in America who pulls the great faces, because we mentioned him on the podcast last week, and I want a Lillis versus Lillis or Lillis meets Willis thing. And, you know, I found he has got a bit of a digital footprint. He's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook, and I've messaged him on both, but to no avail, Steve. What can we do?
We're going to have to go and doorstep him. They're going to have to get BoxNation. You're going to have to get out the head honchos here to sign it off. We're going to get on a flight to New York, because I guess that's where he lives, because that's where he does most of his work as a referee, and we're going to sit outside his house, be it in Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, until he comes out and speaks to us.
Let's do it, because I think this is priceless content. So, Steve Willis, if you are listening, get in touch. We want you on the show. It's not just because of the funny faces and the fact that your surname rhymes with Lillis. You know, there's a lot more than that, isn't there, Steve?
There's a lot. Top referee.
Yeah.
Tell us a lot about the fighters he's refereed, what he puts up with the ring, and what thing he's going to, more than anything, is likely to make him deduct a point, is the question I want to ask.
Really good question. So, Steve, if you are listening, get in touch. Now, my Steve, Mr. Steve Lillis, has brought us some gems for this week's show. The new trainer of Tyson Fury, Ben Davison, is on the show. The brothers Conlon speak to the BoxNation podcast. We hear from O'Hara Davis, who explained to Steve Bunce what went on with all of those tweets. And I've got a world-exclusive snippet from the recent Josh Warrington Lee Selby Face Off feature that was shot last week. All that plus Steve Lillis throws shade at fighters who throw water. Stick with us and enjoy the best boxing podcast in the world. A couple of weeks back we had a fantastic exclusive interview with Tyson Fury. He mentioned that he would no longer be trained by Uncle Peter Fury, and instead on his comeback trail he would be working with young trainer Ben Davison. Now this raised a few eyebrows in the boxing world, as we'd only seen Davison really in Billy Joe Saunders' corner in the now infamous Arthur Akavov fight. And that was a fight where both the fighter and the trainer came under a bit of scrutiny. So answering questions here on Saunders, working with Fury and much more, here is Ben Davison with Steve Lillis.
Thanks for joining us, Ben, on the BoxNation podcast. First of all, can you tell us, how did you get to together with Tyson?
Well, obviously I've worked with Billy Joe for a number of years, and we come out to Marbella for a training camp, and Tyson come along, and we started work out here in MTK Marbella, and that was it really. We gelled straight away, and he said to me there and then about working with him. I said to him at first, don't jump into any decisions, take your time. He was adamant that that's what he wanted to do, and here we are today.
So how's it going between both of you? How well have you, you say you gelled there. Do you feel you gelled quickly?
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, everything is going perfectly on track. The timing of everything's gone perfectly. All the questions that have needed to be asked for this point, where we are now, has been asked and answered very, very comfortably.
Have you ever seen anything at all in Tyson since he started training seriously with you, where you thought, well, maybe he's not doing the right thing, ending his sabbatical from the ring?
Well, do you know what? Every time there's obviously certain questions that need to be asked of somebody to compete at that level of boxing, and any time I've asked those questions, he's answered them with flying colours and with a smile on his face, and almost as if to put two fingers up to say, I can always do that and a bit more, you know. I couldn't have wished it to go more perfect at the minute, to be honest.
I mean, obviously, Tyson's, you know, sticking 2 fingers up at the critics and has got to prove himself again. But do you feel there's pressure on you in the sense that after the Billy Joe, the fight you helped Billy out for, he was in the corner, people seemed to pick on you unfairly, didn't they?
Yeah, of course. But going into that, you know, me and Billy Joe knew that was going to be the situation. Since the fight, you know, Billy Joe's not made it no secrets that he had a lot of issues going into that fight, and obviously we was well aware of them. That night was just about getting the job done. We knew it was never going to be a fantastic performance. We knew that it was, you know, it was going to be a very flat performance, and it was just about being economical and making sure we got the job done, and that's what got done. And obviously, I understand the general public didn't know that leading into the fight. And of course, there's going to be questions asked, and there's going to be almost a microscope on me wanting to see how me and Tyson's relationship gets on, and how we gel and how Tyson performs. But only time will tell.
You must be a confident young man, though, to take on this job following the job that Peter's done.
Yeah, of course. Listen, Peter done a fantastic job with Tyson, and so did Tyson's other uncle Huey do a fantastic job with Tyson. Sometimes circumstances change and things change, and it's massive pressure. But like I say, you can't get put in more of a hot seat than the situation that was leading into the Akavov fight with Billy Joe. You know, I knew first-hand experience that where he was, and you know, he asked me to do it, and I've done it. So that's not something that bothers me, you know. I'm confident in my own abilities, and, you know, I think it says a lot for 2 unbeaten world champions to ask you to work for them. I think that says enough itself.
Well, that's right. It doesn't matter what they say. Billy Joe's, you know, up there, you know, competing to be the #1 middleweight in the world, and to many people, Tyson, once he ends his activity, well, he is the lineal heavyweight champion.
Exactly. So I think that sort of will explain itself.
Have you worked with any other fighters at all, Ben?
Yeah, I've worked with a few other fighters, yeah. All different weights, but they're the 2, obviously the 2 most popular names, obviously. But I've worked with Tom Little, who just boxed out in...
Yeah, not a bad heavyweight.
A bantamweight called Michael Maguire.
Yeah.
Ashley Sexton, a few others, a few boys.
And how do you? What's Tyson like to be around? I mean, I don't know. You know, your sense of humour. Do you have to have that? You know, you're ready for anything. Like I've seen some of his stuff he's put about you on Twitter about, you know, you being the prettiest trainer in the world and what have you.
Yeah, listen, we have a joke and a laugh, but it's work time, and things are serious. You know, although sometimes what Tyson can portray is not exactly how things are. You know, but he's very good at playing the media, and everything's exactly as it should be. But in regards to working with him, he's such a gentleman. He's got absolute manners. He's always got time for everybody, and it's a pleasure, to be honest.
When you're around him, when he's getting mobbed all the time for pictures and autographs and what have you in Marbella there, do you see how hard it must be for him to handle the pressure cooker that he's in?
It can be, but he just takes it in his stride, to be honest. I mean, I don't allow it when we're in the gym or he's starting work. I won't allow it. But when he's in his own personal time, obviously we're together most of the time. You know, he just takes it in his stride. Really, it doesn't really faze him.
And I suppose, Ben, I hope everyone expects him to fight in April. You just must want to get in the corner with him and get that first fight out of the way, mustn't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like you said yourself, Steve. You know, people are going to be looking with a keen eye. So we want to make sure when we get in there, everything's right. But so far, everything's perfectly on track. We're not rushing anything. It's clear to see the weight's falling off him, and it should be a good ride.
Yeah, so how much longer are you staying in Spain for? You out there for the whole camp now virtually until he fights?
No, we are going to come back. We are coming back. We've got about 2 weeks left out here. But everything, you know, when I said to Tyson about it, this was, I wanted us to come away here to get the first get over the first hurdles that we had to get over, and everything's gone perfect. So we'll go back and finish off the preparation that we need to do.
And just before we let you go, a word on your other close friend, Billy Joe Saunders. What are you expecting from him over the next 12 months?
Yeah, look, Billy Joe had a fantastic performance with Limo. I've seen him do that 1,000 times over in the gym, and I've always said the bigger the occasion, the more pressure on Billy Joe, the better he performs. And the biggest test for Billy Joe is not overestimating somebody else, somebody like a Martin Murray. You know, I just got to get through this, and then I've got this. You know, you can't overlook anybody. And the thing is with Billy Joe, he can drop down to people's levels when he doesn't feel threatened, when he doesn't feel the pressure. But I think he's learned from previous outings, and I think he's got an unbelievable year ahead of him.
Well, that was Ben Davison, the new trainer of Tyson Fury. I think he speaks well, Steve.
I've only met Ben once or twice and spoke to him on the phone over the weekend. Really, really nice lad, and I hope this works out for him. And if Tyson does march back to the top again, as he confidently told us he would a couple of weeks ago, I hope Ben does get some of the credit he deserves.
He's taken on a big challenge here, but he seems to have gone in with his eyes wide open. And I'll tell you what, Tyson Fury seems more than happy, doesn't he? Yeah,
well, as he said in the interview, when Tyson offered him the job, he told him, look, you know, think twice.
Exactly.
Are you sure you want to do? Tyson come back, said, no, I'm certain, and he's given it a go, and he's taken Tyson out to the MTK, the weights. Well, Tyson was telling us 4 stones come off in no time, and I think they've got another 2 weeks there, and then they're both coming back here to train, and I dare say in 2 weeks when Tyson returns to the country, he'll have a press conference and announce where his future lays, because that's what everyone is waiting to hear. Because, you know, a lot of people have a go at Tyson, and they say they're not interested. But it's like when we say something, we don't care less when our kids are naughty. You do, really. And everyone who says they don't care about Tyson wants to know when he's coming back. I do, but I care about what he's going to do with his boxing career.
I think a lot of boxing fans do. And you mentioned there how the weight is falling off. That was somewhat visible when he put out a video on social media last week. It was him addressing the camera and addressing Shannon Briggs, saying he's going to send a contract to Shannon Briggs. He then put out a video later saying, yeah, but not for my actual comeback fight. You know, I'm going to send you a contract. Antonio Tarver piped up. He said, I'm going to send you a contract as well. What do you make of all of this, Steve? Is it going to? Are we going to see Tyson Fury in a run of old American legends?
You know what? I'm not sure. I won't call either of them legends. Colourful characters, to say the least. Look, I'd personally like to see him go on this sort of trail for the rest of this year. I think I said last week on the podcast, I don't want to see him go straight into have one fight, blow someone over, and go into a Anthony Joshua fight. I'd like to see him box in April, maybe July, and then September and December. Have 4 fights this year. Stay busy. Keep his profile high. A fight against Shannon Briggs, whether people like that fight or not, it would capture attention.
Yeah.
Because one thing Briggs is, he's most probably a better salesman than what Tyson Fury is. So that fight would certainly sell. Although, you know, purists wouldn't be keen on that fight, and you know, people, I think plenty of people had their say on it. It's a sort of fight that casuals would switch onto, I believe. People would appeal to that. Whether it will be a classic, I'm not going to be stuck commit to that, but I'd certainly look forward to the build-up with some anticipation, and I like to think that Tyson won't really be stepping up to top level until next year. That's what my, if I was managing Tyson, advising Tyson, that is what I'd be saying he should do. But Tyson's very much his own man. What does he do if he comes up as a knockover and suddenly there's millions and millions to fight Anthony Joshua at Wembley? It's a tough call, but to give himself the best chance of regaining his place as the world's #1 heavyweight, I think he needs to just have a busy, active year. And by the way, I think it's really harsh of Ring Magazine to take that title off him. He's still the lineal champ, but they've got these rules. They take it off him. But at the end of the day, the Ring's just a magazine. So I don't think Tyson's losing any sleep over that at all. And Well, he won't be losing any sleep. He's still the lineal champion. He just hasn't got a magazine giving him a title.
Well, on that, I mean, is this the first time that Ring Magazine and lineage of titles have kind of parted ways in any weight division? Do you know?
I only saw Tyson's tweet on that, where and Tyson does know he's boxing, so I think he said it was the first time for so many years. So I'll take Tyson's word on that. Quite frankly, I've never really cared for the ring title. It doesn't really mean anything to me. People always know who the world champion is. They don't need some magazine to tell them that, be it the Ring Magazine or not.
Well, nothing has been confirmed yet on Tyson Fury's return date and opponent, but here is something that is confirmed. After years of build-up, back and forth, is it happening? Isn't it happening? You pulled out? No, you pulled out? It's finally on. May 19th, Lee Selby will defend his IBF World Featherweight Championship against mandatory challenger Josh Warrington. The fight will take place at Elland Road, the home of Leeds United, in front of Warrington's rabid fans, baying for the blood of the Welshman Selby. The two met at a lively press conference at Elland Road last week, and after that presser, Warrington believes he has the edge, and Lee Selby is rattled.
I thought that he'd be nervous coming up to it, knowing that his team didn't want to have it open to the public, and you know, just kind of backed up my thoughts, what I initially, you know, predicted. When we went head to head, I could see it in his eyes. He was nervous. His lip was trembling. He was shouting all kind of insults to me, and yeah, it's with a bit of a crowd there, but I let him get under his skin, and he was worked up. I can tell that. You know, I'm not a psychologist, but you know, reading people and looking between lines, you can tell that he's worked up.
When you did the face off, it was quite intense. He didn't say a word, but you were saying plenty. What were you saying to him?
I was just telling him, though, it's on. It's on after all the talking, and we're here now. You know, we've got the fight in Leeds, and he's walking into a hostile environment. But he did say a few things. That's why I know he's rattled, because he was getting a bit nasty. What are we saying? You know, getting all ghetto and that from Barry Highland, man. So I just told him, listen, you're not no bad man, and you're losing your title on the day, and that's it.
Well, Lee Selby believes he wasn't rattled at all.
Yeah, I don't know what he's looking at. I'm fine. I'm perfect. You know, a couple of guys shouting and making sheep noises ain't gonna faze me. Take a lot more than that.
Do you think Josh rolls himself up with the stuff he's saying, and come fight night, he might struggle to handle that?
I think so. You know, he's saying that he's doing a lot of talking. That's not my style. I'd like to just do it in the ring. So he's doing a lot of talking. He's getting his fans riled up, you know, and they're expecting him to deliver on the night.
So what do you think awaits you on the night if you've been spat at and everything thrown at you before?
I'll just box even better, and I'll prove every fan they're wrong.
As you were going along and moving up the boxing ladder, yeah, Josh seemed to come along, pick up your titles that you'd won. Are you surprised he's got this far?
Not really. You know, those titles starting off, he had to buy them off me. He couldn't beat me for them. I don't know whether he knows that himself, but his promoter at the time was buying my titles off me to build him up in front of his home fans, like they've done, ready for me to pluck him off. And now it's happening.
What do you mean, buying your titles? What was he doing then?
They've been giving me money for my titles, paying me to vacate them in order to build him up.
So you've already earned some money from Josh Warrington,
yeah,
then?
I'm a lot more money than that team.
Steve, who got the better of the day of the press conference?
Well, Josh had plenty to say. You were there as well, Deb, so I'm going to ask you the same question in a minute, actually. Well, you were there around it all day, doing your stuff, helping make the face-off and various things there. I think Josh had plenty to say. You know, he was revving himself up there, and you know, he had a lot of fantastic. All the supporters that turned up to see the press conference packed into the Norman Hunter Suite at Elland Road. But I don't think Selby was fazed at all. He wasn't fazed whatsoever by what was thrown at him from Warrington. Every time Warrington come back with something, he had an answer. Like the fans, like the guy that joked about his moustache, he joked about the way the guy looked.
Yeah,
he had an answer for everything. He was totally unfazed by everything now. Saying that, when it does come to fight night on May 19 at Elland Road, when there could be 25, perhaps 30,000 Yorkshiremen absolutely baying for his blood, it will be a theatre of hate, that arena that night. There won't be any support for him at all. Maybe one or two coaches, as he said, might come up from
I
Cardiff.
think Josh Warrington jibed that it'd actually be a taxi.
Yeah, maybe it will be a taxi. But look, it'll be 100 fans at the most. They won't even be heard. What's going to await him is something he's never experienced before. He's been to Belfast before, and he mentioned the booing there and claimed he was spat at. I find it hard to believe, knowing the Belfast fight crowd. But in Belfast, they are fight fans.
Yeah. And
they would have clapped him at the end because of the performance he had that night against Martin Lindsay. That was back in 2013, a British and Commonwealth title fight. They respected him. Here, it's not. It's a pure Leeds United football supporting
crowd,
one another, a different crowd. There won't be respect when he if he wins, or when he wins, as he would say. There won't be none of that at all. It will be hate. Few fighters anywhere in the world will experience. It's going to be really, really hostile in that tonight. Now, I've seen nothing before to suggest he won't be able to handle that. He's a pretty unfazed character.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys who, even during a fight, you'd love to have, what his heart, some sort of magnetic thing on him to see what he's going at. He doesn't panic at all.
Yeah.
And I think he'll handle it pretty well. He will be overcome by the noise, and he's going to be in them dressing rooms under the tunnel there at Ellen Road, and he'll hear the hate for him, that to make it uncomfortable for him. But I think he'll handle it. As to who won on the day, I'm going to go. You're going to accuse me of sitting on the fence here. I'll go for the draw because Josh was animated, had plenty to say, really sold the fight brilliantly, hyped it up. Lee Selby had an answer for everything. When they did the face-off on the podium, Josh was saying plenty. Lee was whispering a few things back. It didn't bother him. Now, you may have your own thoughts on it, because once I'd done my interviews, with myself and Andy Cook and John Parry, we was ushered away. We had to leave the room. Yourself and Ben Murphy from Frank Warren's office threw us out the room. We had seconds to go so you could get this face-off done. So we left like good boys. So you can tell us a bit more about what you saw in that and what you thought.
I was one of the privileged few, as you mentioned there, Steve, who was in that room as this face-off feature was shot. So this was John Rawling sat in the middle, challenger one side, champion the other, belt in the middle as well on the table, and they didn't hold back. They went at it. I don't know who won. I tell you what, Lee Selby it takes a lot to phase him.
He'd be a great poker player, I think, because there's no emotion. You don't know what he's thinking behind the eyes.
Absolutely, and sometimes you'd get in little comments like, yeah, but he was better than you, though. Like, he'd be talking about fighters and say, yeah, but he was better than you. Like, just little comments that would dig away at Warrington, and Warrington comes back, firing back straight away. But what I'm actually going to deliver now, and this is a world exclusive snippet here of that face-off. No one's told me I can even play it in this podcast, but here it is.
We'll go for my defences. The first defence, Fernando Montiel, elite fighter.
Past his best.
Still an elite fighter. Something you'll never be. The
next defence, as much as you want, end of the day.
Eric Hunter. Ask anybody about Eric Hunter in America. Great amateur, outstanding amateur.
Brilliant amateur, but amateurs,
good fighter as a professional.
Amateurs.
A good fighter as a professional.
But not.
Who's the next defence? Jonathan Victor Barros, former world champion, made plenty of defences. Better fighter than you.
I'd beat any of them fighters.
Even the guy I won the title off, Evgeny Gradovich.
And I won't get put on my backside.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm 100% positive I won't get put on my backside, yeah.
And really, that is a teaser. Again, I don't know if I was supposed to play it. No one told me I could. No one told me I couldn't. So if I'm not here next week, listeners, it is because I'm providing you this sort of top quality content. And what can I say, Steve? You'll be on your own next week.
Yeah, you write the rules, mate. Yeah. You write the rules. But no, it's interesting where you Lee says all the time they were all better than you. And when I did my interview last week, I don't know if you were there, Deb, or you'd popped out when we were doing the BoxNation interview, and I asked about Carl Frampton, and I didn't even finish the question. And Lee was saying, much tougher fight than Josh Warrington.
I think he's very much of that belief, and Warrington is, he's full of his own self-belief and thinks, with the roar of the Leeds crowd, and maybe he's catching Selby at the right time as well.
This is it. I mean, I'm not saying I don't think Selby's gone back, but could it be almost? I don't want Lee to think I'm comparing him where Kostya was at the stage of his career with Ricky Hatton.
Wow, okay.
But is it he's massive home fans, football type atmosphere. Is that his cost Yazoo moment? But if Lee is listening, I'm not comparing you to where Costa Zoo was at the stage of his career. It's just the sort of right place, right time fight. What you suggested. We shall see. You know what? It's a fascinating fight, and I'm sure every week until it comes up, we're going to just mention it on this podcast, and we're going to change views from week to week. That's why the tickets are going to sell in so quickly for this one.
And tickets we're expecting to be on sale very, very soon. The fight is at Elland Road on May the 19th, and it will be live on BoxNation in the UK. With regards to that face-off feature, that teaser that I gave you, don't say I don't do nothing for you. Keep an eye out on the BoxNation social media pages over the next few weeks for more updates on that. Ahara Davis, 2 tanks, OD. You know. Well, he sat on Steve Bunce's sofa on Friday to talk about all of those tweets. I'll be honest, Steve Bunce really put it on him, and there's a reason I tell you to watch Bunce's Boxing Hour every Friday, and this is just one of them. A fascinating chat with Ahara Davis as he explains exactly what happened with those tweets.
We've got to start with a tweet you sent to Tommy Coyle, the boxer from Hull.
Yeah.
About a potential fight with him, and you used in that tweet, you said that when you knock him out or when you beat him, you were going to give an interview to your favourite paper, The Sun. Now, why did you mention The Sun at all?
Why did I mention The Sun? Because I know that Tommy Cole doesn't like The Sun. Why he doesn't like The Sun is because, I think it was 2016, someone that worked for his gym went to rob Boots, you know, the shop Boots, and then he got jailed. I think for 12 months, and The Sun exposed the whole situation.
So they mentioned Tommy Cole?
They mentioned Tommy Cole. They exposed the man first of all, then they said that he works under Tommy Cole's gym. So basically Tommy Cole's been employing former criminals, because prior to that incident, he had already been to jail. Tommy Cole's been employing former criminals to work with kids in his gym. The Sun exposed that whole situation. So I knew that he don't like The Sun, so that's why I said after I knock you out, my first interview is going to be with The Sun.
Which you then called your favourite paper. Now, the problem with that, O'Hara, I mean, that is absolutely, that's understandable. Of course, the problem with that is that some people thought that you were being disrespectful to people that lost their lives in the Hillsborough situation. Now, it's my understanding, I'm not putting words in your mouth, I've got a quote from you here saying, I sincerely apologise again to those I offended in my ignorance. You're claiming that you had no idea, you obviously didn't mean it about Hillsborough then, but you're also claiming that you had no idea what Hillsborough meant, you just thought it was a word. Honestly,
I had no idea what Hillsborough was. I hadn't heard that name in my life. I don't play football, I'm a boxer. It's an event that happened before I was even born. I had no idea what Hillsborough actually was. All I knew is that Tommy Cole doesn't like The Sun because they exposed the whole situation.
And the people that he employs in his gym.
Exactly. I had no idea what Hillsborough was. So when the whole uproar started, I was like, wait, what's going on here? Why is Tony Bellew getting involved and these people, these other people getting involved? Why did Derry Matthews unfollow me on? Because
Tommy Cole's from Hull, by the way, not from Liverpool.
Yeah,
he's from Hull, quite a long way away from Liverpool.
So, no, at the start, I honestly thought that I said something really wrong. But then once I'd done all my research and I looked at the ins and outs of the situation, and I was like, Tommy Cole's got nothing to do with Hillsborough. Tommy Cole's from Hull. He don't train up in Liverpool.
Trains in
Sheffield. It's nothing to do with him. So then afterwards, like, first of all, I was like, oh, I made a mistake. I've said something so wrong. But then I was like, it's got nothing to do with Tommy Cole anyway. So I literally, I didn't understand why I was, why I received so much abuse.
But you say you don't understand why you received so much abuse. But if people thought that you were making reference to a tragedy and then saying I'm going to give an interview to my favourite paper, which is The Sun, which of course is not sold in the Merseyside area, you're saying that that's not the case. That's nothing to do with you. That's not in any way what you meant.
Yeah. in no way, shape or form.
Let me just read what you. Let me just read exactly what you said. I disrespect opponents, but in no way would I ever mock a tragedy.
Exactly, and that's the truth. You know, in boxing, I like to trash talk every now and again. I like to get underneath someone's skin, but when you start saying things about families that have actually died and people that are not even involved in the boxing, because I'm sure that the families of those that died are not even boxing fans, probably. So why would I go out and try to disrespect them?
Now, there's another instance. You mentioned there's someone that died. There's an also. I mean, let's go through. Let's go through the wrong. Let's go through the reasons why people dislike you. That's the first answer, and people might call me naive, but I've read what you've written already, and I'm listening to you here, and it's obvious to me that it had nothing to do with Hillsborough. That tweet to Tommy Coyle. That, I mean, I'm quite convinced about that as well. Okay, I'm gonna side with you on that one. Okay, I think I know you're telling the truth on that one. What about the situation with Robbie Davis Jr? Okay, now you're involved in a bit of a Twitter spat with him because you're involved in lots of ongoing Twitter spats. You have quite a few of them going on at the same time, and some of them get personal, some of them get nasty, and some of them there's a bit of comedy attached. Now, you wrote something about Robbie Davis's father, Robbie Davis Sr, also known as the Governor in Liverpool, and you said something about his father whilst his father was dying. Now, what happened there? How could you have done that?
To be honest, Steve, I had no idea what condition his father was in. Me and him was having a back and forth on Twitter, and then someone messaged me, I think on my Facebook Messenger, that his dad used to box. So I searched him up on BoxRec, and I saw that he lost a few fights. So I was thinking, cool, if his dad lost a few fights, I'm gonna bring his dad into the whole thing. The same way when people.
So at this point, you got no idea his dad's ill or dying.
Idea, Steve. I had no idea. But I just thought, cool, let me bring his dad into this whole argument now, because that's going to get under his skin. I had no idea what condition his father was in. No, I had no idea.
He was ill?
Yeah, I had no idea that he was ill. As far as I was concerned, he's just a normal, healthy man, just like anyone else. So I had no idea what condition his father was in. So I shouldn't have said that, but I should have done my research before I mentioned his dad. And that was wrong with me. Now
here's the problem I've got, O'Hara. I take that on board, and I think, you know, I have to believe you're telling me the truth. Okay, so at what point then? Surely there was a point then when you could have apologised to Robbie, still called him the things you were calling him, but apologised for bringing his father in. Do you regret not doing that?
I should have apologised, and I will apologise to him. But the reason why I didn't apologise is because when I found out about his dad and that he was in his deathbed, me and him had already gone back and forth. We had already gone too far, and he was already saying that I'm this, I'm that, I'm an idiot, I'm a bum. So it was already, we had already gone too far for me to apologise. That's how I felt at the time. I was like, we've already gone back and forth. Even after I mentioned the thing about his dad, I mentioned more things about him. I continued, and then he also continued. So it was like, so am I going to stop this whole argument just to say, by the way, I'm sorry, but let's carry on arguing? It was a bit awkward, so I just thought, you know what?
So it went too long. It went too far.
Yeah, it went a bit too long.
But in theory, if you saw him now, in theory, you might apologise.
I would apologise, and if he's watching this, I would like to let him know that I'm sorry for what I said about his dad. I didn't know what condition his father was in, and I'm sorry for his loss.
It seems to me, I mean, I've read some of your quotes here. I mean, you're talking about the way it's been. It's all going to change. That you're going to change. That you felt it changed a little bit, or it should have changed after the Derry Matthews fight. You said I felt humbled after that. It's all been an act since. It's all been an act since. An act that worked when it comes to selling tickets, parading round grounds, and livening up press conferences. But we've all seen it established with Robbie Davis, where it's gone a bit far. So are we going to see? Or is there now a different O'Hara Davis?
It's not a different O'Hara Davis, it's more the real O'Hara Davis, and, you know, whether that sells or not, I don't think I really care anymore, Steve. You know, I put on an act for so long, and when I needed the management I was under and certain people to stick with me, like they had already been sticking with me, I felt like a lot of people turned their back on me after I've been acting in a way that I was encouraged to do. So afterwards, I was just like, do you know what? Whether I sell or not, I don't care. I'm just gonna be me. Focus on my boxing. Keep my head down. I'm gonna train, and I'm not the man that people think I am, or the way that I've
There's a
made
different
people.
Howard Davis.
Yeah,
there.
I'm actually like just a normal guy. I'm a loving guy. You know, whenever I've seen any of my fans on the streets, it's not like I'm this arrogant guy that thinks that I'm too special to speak to anyone. I feel like everyone's equal. Everyone's equal, and I'll take time out just to speak to anyone. You know, I'll do my bit. If anyone's in need, I'm always there to help them. You can ask any of my friends or anyone that's met me, but when it comes to how I've portrayed myself, it's my fault for listening to people that I shouldn't have listened to, but that's a lesson that I've learned the hard way.
Well, he's a new man. It's OD V2, and I'm in. To be honest, I mean, he's got MTK around him now. He appears to be a man reformed. He says he had no idea about Hillsborough. He had no idea about Robbie Davis's dad being ill. He doesn't care about selling tickets anymore. He's just going to get his head down and be himself. Steve, we want to see him in some big fights, right?
Yeah, well, he's got to get himself into the big fights. I think he's coming back on the April 14 bill at London's O2 Arena. Magnificent bill, that with Joe Saunders, Terry Flanagan in world title action. You know, he's on Twitter enough at the moment. Luckily, he has calmed right down on Twitter, which is fantastic to see. He's on there now, it seems, non-stop, though, saying, I've learned this is the new me. Well, just show us it's the new me. And get on with it and get in big fights. So Frank Warren has got some great fights for him, I should think, £140. Jack Cattrall's been quick to say he wants him. You know, of course, you know, the one they're all going to be chasing if he wins the world title against Maurice Hooker is Terry Flanagan. Yeah. But below that, you've even got guys like Josh Lever and Jeff Saunders who may well face each other pretty soon. You know, if they do, there's a winner of that or one of those two. They're the sort of fights we want to see him in. You know, either against, you know, guys like Cattrall or guys like Lever and Jeff Saunders who are getting in the ring, keeping their mouth shut on Twitter and performing.
Let's not forget Tyrone Nurse as well.
Tyrone Nurse, I hadn't forgotten Tyrone, but I saw Tyrone last week and he's moving up to welterweight.
Oh, he's going up, is he?
Yeah, which if you look at him, he's something he should have done a while ago. His dad, Chris Aston, takes the blame for him staying there for so long. Should have done it 18 months ago. Tyrone's going up to welterweight, so that's why I've ruled that fight out. But quite right for you to mention his name there. But that's what's happening with Tyrone. I dare say, I'm guessing that it would be sensible for him to return on the Ellen Road bill. I don't know, but that's just a guess.
Makes sense. Well, here's what I want to see. I want to see him shave his hair and fight Bradley Skeet, because for me, they are ringers. What do you reckon? Is that just me? If he shaves his hair off, he's Bradley Skeet.
I tell you what, he will never shave his hair. Them long locks there, or the big afro, or the dreads he has sometimes. I don't think Tyrone will shave his hair. Lovely kid, Tyrone, and his dad, Chris Aston's a nice man.
Well, as you mentioned there, Steve, O'Hara Davis will be returning on April the 14th at the O2 Arena. A show headlined by Joe Saunders defending his world title against Martin Murray. Terry Flanagan gets a shot at a vacant world title against Maurice Hooker. Tickets are on sale at axs.com and will be live on BoxNation. Now, our next interview is another man who is having somewhat of a fresh start. He flips birds. He knocks heads. He's making a name for himself on this side and that side of the pond. He's a bit of a decorated amateur for both Ireland and Northern Ireland. It is, of course, Michael Conlon.
Michael, thanks for joining us on the podcast. First of all, boxing, there's not many secrets, but it was kept pretty quiet. Not too many people knew that you'd left Manny Robles.
Yeah, not many people knew, but I think for me it was just more of a logistic type thing where I left, and I feel that my wife is expecting another baby, and I think for us to be out there in LA, which is an 11-hour flight, and our time difference is very, very hard to manage with me being in training camp the whole time.
Where was your wife living? Was she in Belfast still, or was she with you out there?
No, she was with me out there, but it was very hard even with one baby and me being in training camp, it was hard at times because it gets very lonely. Even when I'm not in training camp, it could be very lonely for them. But obviously, if I'm always going to be away in camp, it's going to be lonely for them, and it's very tough for us to manage two babies and no help around us, like mothers or aunties or uncles.
So what, are you just by yourself now in London, or just on the outskirts of London, and they're in Belfast?
Yeah, that's it. They're back in Belfast now. I'm on the outskirts of London and Epsom, and you know, I'm loving life out here. I'm loving life without a boot so far.
So was it all? I'll take it. It sounds as if that you know, when you and Manny split up, it was very amicable.
Yeah, there was no problem with me leaving Manny, and he understood everything, and you know, he told me that the door's always open. Anytime I need anything, anytime I need any advice, just give him a call. You know, it's no problem. There's no bad blood between us. And, you know, he told me I have to do what's best for my family, and I agree.
So why Adam Booth? Why did you pick him above all the trainers that are out there?
Yeah, well, I knew I was coming back towards the UK, and I looked at the coaches in the UK, and I've always kind of believed that Adam Booth was the only coach I'd really want to work with in the UK, and the coach I thought is probably one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the UK. It was an easy choice.
Did you also see the job he's done with Ryan Burnett?
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job around, and then like, if you even look at his history, but even with Andy Lee, you know, you've got David Hay, George Groves as well there, and now Josh Kelly and Mitchell Smith and stuff are with him. So you know, I feel he's a very, very good coach, a very smart coach, and you know, a very technical coach, and that's what I kind of feel I need.
You mentioned a few of the names he's trained, and people like Mitchell Smith who are still with him, and Ryan Burnett. What's it like in that gym with so many winners?
It's great, you know. There's a healthy, competitive kind of atmosphere against each other, but friendly as well, because we are teammates at the same time. But that's what you need. You need people to push you, and you know, I feel in this gym, these are guys who always seem to be winning, and you know, look and seem to be very competitive, and you know, that's what I need. I need that kind of competitive streak, and to push me on to be better myself.
Your last fight that we had on BoxNation, which you won against Luis Molina, was one of your best performances. And how did you see that fight?
Yeah, listen, before that fight, you know, I thought my performances were kind of, they weren't doing me as a boxer on how I usually box justice. So, you know, I made a conscious decision when I went in the last camp that I was going to focus on just using my skills, and, you know, not trying to just go in and blow people out. Now I've got a good knockout streak already, so, you know, and I got that big highlight reel going in Arizona, so I felt that, you know, we can just to go in and focus, get some rounds, and, you know, use my boxing skills, and that's what I kind of done. I went in there, I think he landed like 2 punches the whole fight, and, you know, I felt great, I felt comfortable, I felt I was using my distance well, and using the southpaw stance very well, and, you know, I just felt comfortable in there and very happy, and felt like I was back to doing what I do best, and that was use my boxing skills.
You're back at Madison Square Garden, March 17, St Patrick's Day. How much have you improved from your debut there, like a year ago, when you beat Tim Ibarra?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think I've definitely improved an awful lot, but at the same time, it's not about my ability, because I showed in that fight nothing really. I just showed that I was getting there trying to take someone completely out when there was a crazy atmosphere, something that I'd never experienced in my life. It was a world title fight atmosphere, and you know, I sold in Madison Square Garden in my debut, so it was kind of hard to kind of contain myself and you know, compose myself in there. But I feel that I've got that experience now, and I'll have learned an awful lot from that fight and from that kind of atmosphere which I had. And you know, I'm really, really excited to go in there this time, because I feel it's going to be a 10 times better performance, not even a more improved boxer. I just thought, because I know I have the ability to go and do it already, but it was just that atmosphere the first time, and you know, the expectation. It was very hard to contain myself, and you know, this time it's going to be completely different.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but would there be less pressure this time? Because I understand last time when you was out there, yourself and Matthew Macklin were doing it the old school way, literally running around New York bars, Irish bars, selling tickets to people.
Yeah, well, Matt, Seamus and Macklin, they grafted out there. It was fantastic, you know, they pushed tickets massively, and you know, we sold out the garden on my day theatre, like, but it was still a sellout, 5,000 odd people there, and you know, it was a special atmosphere. You know, I was very, very happy with the way it went, but this time I think it's automatically the bars are coming asking for tickets now, and you know they're flying out, and you know it's going to be the same atmosphere, but you know obviously because they've experienced it already, it's going to be a lot less pressure.
Just one final question before we let you go. You know, the big fight people already building up is yourself against Shakur Stevenson. How close an eye are you keeping on Shakur's career?
I'm watching. I'm not really keeping a real close eye on it, but I am watching because you know it's going to take a bit of time before that fight happens. And, you know, it's something that I'm really looking forward to in the future. But no, I'm not too worried about him at the minute. You know, I'll focus more on him when you know the fight's a bit near. But at the minute, we're not close to happening. And when it does happen, though, I can't wait because it's going to be a big fight and a big atmosphere and something that I believe that you know I'll play in and you know something that I believe I'll already experience but he won't have, and you know I believe I'll win that fight definitely.
And sorry, there's one other thing I just wanted to ask you. Is there still plans for a homecoming in April or May?
Yeah, it's May, June. Yeah, last week in May, first week in June. It definitely happened, but so no, I'm really excited about that. I feel that for all the fans who came to travel to watch me, I feel that it's just right for me to go back now and put on big shows in Belfast for those guys who, you know, pay their hard-earned money, take their wages, and you know, book the flights, book the tickets, and you know, I gotta thank them because they're the supporters. You know, they're people who kind of pushed your career completely, and you know, I feel that this homecoming fight is going to be for them.
Well, Steve, Mick Conlon is 5-0 with 4 knockouts. He's not put a foot wrong yet, has he?
No, I think he is his own worst critic. I don't think all the performances have been vintage. I think he admits that himself. But I think in his last fight against the Argentinian opponent, Luis Molina, was the best we've seen him. He had to go to decision, but he boxed really, really well that night. So, you know, it showed the progress he'd made under Manny Robles before there. What was a shock split. You know, everyone was surprised in boxing. As I said to Michael, in boxing, there's very few secrets. It's basically a big village, Dev.
Yeah.
But that one took everybody by surprise. But obviously, there's, as Mick explained, there's a lot of reasons for his wife was pregnant. And just reading between the lines, it seemed that she failed to settle on the American West Coast. So I think it was best if he thought it was best if he moved the family back here. I think his wife's in Belfast. He's living in Epsom in Surrey, training with Adam Booth. So he needs to get home. He's only an hour away. So and his wife, she's pregnant. She's back with the family. So you know, obviously a move that was best all round. And another you know, golden fighter lands in Adam Booth's lap. I mean,
what a stable he's got, eh?
Yeah, what a stable he's got. And you know what? And he is a fantastic trainer. Adam, you know, as he's worked with David Hay over the years, proved, and George Groves, fantastic job with both of them and other fighters since then. But I just don't know how so many of these trainers, you know, when they've got so many elite fighters, how they find the time to give them that one-to-one. It's quite incredible. They do. You know, you look, Joe Gallagher has, you know, that nice problem to have. Adam Booth at the moment. Jamie Moore's got that sort of problem with Carl Frampton, Rocky Fielding, Martin Murray, Tommy Coyle. He's got a couple of kids
Conrad
he trained
Cummings
for Steve Wood.
Yeah.
He's got Conrad Cummings, Stephen Ward, the Irish light heavyweight. They're all going to have fights around April, May. So where do you find the time to give them all this one-to-one treatment? It's amazing they can do. I mean, Jamie's helped out with Nigel Travis, but I don't think Joe certainly hasn't got an assistant, Joe Gallagher, and I don't think Adam Booth has.
Well, on Adam Booth, I remember seeing a video, you saying, oh, maybe he hasn't got time for one-on-ones. There's a video of him doing pads for both Ryan Burnett and Josh Kelly sort of at the same time. Yeah. So maybe it's that bad. Maybe times are hard over at the booth.
I think they do find the time, but it's amazing how busy they must be. 'Cause it isn't just the training. At home in the evening, they'll be looking on YouTube at boxers who they're looking at as an opponent. The hours they put in, these guys, is phenomenal. And trainers get a lot of stick, but especially when there's a loss, they seem to be to carry the can. But the work they put in to earn their money and improve their own standing in the game, and more than anything, improve their boxers' standing, it is phenomenal. You've got to be cut out to do it.
And what about sparring with Ryan Burnett? That's not going to hurt him, is it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how heavy the spars will be. They're close friends, but I'm sure Adam will we'll have them sparring. But I wondered if Ryan Burnett was one of the reasons that Michael went to Adam Booth, because they are so close.
Yeah. Well, he talked about coming back at some point for this homecoming. Now,
That's going to
Steve,
be in May, June, yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay. Well, my next thing was going to be this little dream that I've got. Okay, now, stop me if I'm getting ahead of myself, right? I'm thinking Frampton versus winner of Selby Warrington. Yeah? Windsor Park. Okay. On that show, I've got Conlon ×2. Yeah? Jamie coming back. I've got Mick Conlon in there, you know, homecoming. Then I've got Paddy Barnes against Sho Kimura, world title fight, Windsor Park.
Yeah.
And then, now this is where okay, maybe I'm dreaming too much. Give me a slap, Steve. Ryan Burnett versus Zolani Tete in a bantamweight unification. Please, tell me it can happen.
It can happen, but it's not going to happen. I think Eddie's made that clear. There's other avenues they're going. They might come back to Tete in a year, 18 months, but it's not happening. That's a dream card you come up with, and a lot of that is possible. But I think a lot of the problems would be with Michael Conlon, with where it would be broadcast. He's an ESPN fighter in America. Maybe HBO or Showtime will be taking Carl Frampton. So there's those sort of things. But Carl and Michael, for them two to fight on the same bill professionally, it would mean so much to them. They're really close, and it would mean, I think the only person Carl might be closer to in boxing is Paddy Barnes. You only have to look at the three of them when they get on Twitter at each other.
Good bants.
Yeah, good bants, as they say. And that's in public. I just wonder what their WhatsApps are like when they're on their little group.
I mean, I'd love to be in there for just sort of, maybe just 1 hour. Yeah. Well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Carl's told me there is a WhatsApp group that a lot of these boxers are on.
I imagine that. Imagine being in that group. Now, we're going to do something completely unprecedented. It has never been done before in podcasting history. I think it hasn't anyway. We're going to go from one Conlon to another. As IBF Super Flyweight champion Jerwin Ankayas was in action at the weekend on BoxNation, we thought who better to break down his performance than a man who shared the ring with him. Here's Jamie Conlon.
Thanks for joining us, Jamie. First of all, you know what it's like to face Jerwin Ankayas. What did you think of his performance against Israel Gonzalez?
Yeah, I was impressed. I thought he was very good. He's got a great jab, and then he controls the distance very well with the straight punches, and just like really good and improving every time. Did you expect him to do the job quicker? No. When we were watching him, he's not. They kept making the reference to Manny Pacquiao, but he's completely different. Yeah. He's a lot more meticulous. He takes his time more, so he doesn't rush. So when he put him down in the first round, you could see he took the foot off and just was looking for the counter punch. He's a counter puncher. When you really sit down and watch him, that's why it went the longer distance. The Mexican was very tough, and he was just looking for the opening, and it came in the 10th round.
When you were sitting at home watching it on BoxNation, did you see anything you think when you fought him, I could have done that different, or is he just that good?
Nah, for me, it's done and dusted. I don't really look back to the past like that. You just kind of have to look forward. And I was watching him with a different eye this time, and instead of when I watched him previously, I was always trying to pick his mistakes, but now I was just enjoying the things he was doing right, and he didn't go to the body as much as what he did against me, and that was kind of, if he started doing about 8 or 9th round, and you could see a bit of a difference in it, but he does things very well. They kept making reference to Pacquiao, but I don't think he's the same kind of fighter as Manny. He's a lot more of a thinker fighter. He's a real counter puncher. If you really watch him, the first 2 punches sometimes are fake. It's the 3rd punch that he's waiting to open the guard with, and that's the devastating one.
Bob Arum's had a little bit of criticism last week in America for not putting him in the Super Fly series of shows that's going on. Do you think they're doing the right job with him by keeping him away from men like Rungveza at the moment?
Yeah, well, it's a tough one. You kind of really never know. He is an elite fighter, but then there's, has he fought another elite fighter? No. So they don't know his sheer quality yet. You know, they don't know how real good that he is, because that was the first fight they've actually had with him. So they've matched him how they felt that they kind of will test him in their own ways. You know, they're very good at building fighters, and they're very good at picking fights at the right times to suit the fighter and to suit them, and to try and build them as into superstars. So, you know, you can't really the only saying them, they can't really just throw them straight into the deep end. They have to kind of test the waters with him and see how far they can really push him. Can he beat the likes of Run the Final? Yeah, I do think so. The only one I don't think he could beat would be Inui, but I think he's moved up now. He's a different quantity altogether. You know, it's kind of it's very hard, and especially in the super feather division, everyone is top quality. At the very top, they're top dogs. So it's kind of it's a hard one to put them in. It's a big chess game. I'm sure Bob Armit and Top Rank are very good at making moves at the right time.
So, what about yourself, Jamie? What does the future hold for you as a boxer?
I'm just enjoying myself at the minute, Steve. I'm still waiting on the birth of my baby in the next few days. So, just kind of that's the only focus I have right now is for the missus and the baby coming, and kind of everything else just take a back seat. As far as boxing going, you know, I spoke to my advisor, I spoke to my team at MTK, and you know, we still believe that I can have another crack at things, and kind of we're aiming around the June-May time, and just they're letting me enjoy this kind of family time and dipping me to win the fatherhood.
I mean, it would be a dream, wouldn't it, to fight on the same card as your brother when he comes home in May or June?
Yeah, well, it would in a way, you know, kind of. It would be iconic to have two brothers on in a cellular arena in Belfast, but also when I actually think like a big brother, it's also a personal nightmare. You know, you're dealing with your own problems, and then you got to look out for your younger brother. Although Mick can handle himself better than I can handle myself, so. But in the end of the day, he's still your younger brother, so it's kind of it's got yings and yangs to it, and you know, it's got ups and downs, and I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we can be on the same card together, and it'd be fantastic for me, it'd be fantastic for the family.
I mean, besides one more world title assault for you, you're also keeping busy with MTK. What's your role within the organisation now?
Well, that's what I'm going to kick in the next few weeks. That we're going to start working with the younger fighters, bringing them on, developing them in the right way, and kind of guiding them, especially in Belfast, where we're really starting a brilliant hub coming through of fighters. You know, Ireland in general has fantastic fighters coming through at the younger stage, at their burst of their career. Like you've got the likes of Lewis Crocker and Gary Cully and things like that there who they need nurtured in the right direction, and MTK thought with previous experiences of me being there and kind of come through a different road, I know what way not to go, so to kind of lead them away from steer them on the right path and keep them just focused in the right direction. And then we have other stuff that's going on, kind of we'll be growing as a brand, and MTK is only going from strength to strength, and it's fantastic to be a part of.
That says a lot for you, because we were saying on the show last night about you, and I said how Derry Matthews used to speak to you about how you lived the life. So getting that job, it shows the respect you've got in boxing, I think. It must mean a lot to you that MTK entrusts you with that, because it's a big job. Yeah,
it is, because at the start of your career, you know, there's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of downfalls, and we kind of, you know, we separate all this, especially this new age we're living in, Steve. It's like a social media age, and everyone's trying to outdo themselves, and it's all fake and all this kind of designer brand and thinking flash and money and stuff. You need to focus on the job at hand, and you need to think long-term goals, and not the short-term goals and whatever money you get, blowing it in the wrong direction, and just kind of not focusing on the goal at hand, which is bettering yourself daily as a boxer and as a fighter. And then if you keep continuing doing that, you know, the world's your oyster in a few years' time, but it takes time. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of grind and a lot of dedication. It was something that when I went to Marbella and kind of was around, you know, especially in a place like Marbella, which has a lot of pitfalls and downfalls and, you know, nightlife and stuff like that there, for me, it was never like that. It was always just work. It was kind of, you left your family at home and you come over here to work. You didn't come over here for anything else. And I come over to try and better myself, not just as a boxer, but as a person. And the people that I had around me were great people. Derry and all were great to have in camp. And it's just kind of, I think it's what you need as a boxer's mentality to kind of keep being reminded of what the end goal is.
You've been a professional for a few years, and you mentioned the social network world out there. How much has boxing changed from the first day you turned professional, do you think, in that way?
You know, it's different. It's completely different. You know, this kind. I still very rarely use Twitter and all this gear, social media stuff. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it, but it's different. You know, you lose social interaction. You know, you have all these friends online, but are they really your friends? No. Can you go and sit and have a cup of tea with them? No. Do they really give two shits about you? No. So it's kind of all false, you know. But it can lead to inflated egos, but it can also deflate people very quickly. If you are into sitting reading all these positive comments, when some fucking Div from I don't know where message you a bad message and put you down, if you're believing in the hate, you're going to believe in what they say as well, and you're going to take it offensive, and then, you know, it can get into it. Growing as a fighter, you need to have a strong team around you and a good family as well. But for me, when I only started, I didn't realise that the professional boxing game was you had to be more than just a boxer. You had to kind of sell tickets, you had to be entertaining, you had to do all these different things, and it took me a while to actually realise that boxing no more was a sport and from the amateur game it was more it wasn't a game like in the amateur game, it was more of a business. You kind of had to realise very quickly that you have to sell yourself both as a boxer and then as a person. So it kind of, at times I didn't agree with it because I don't like all that stuff, but then when all the social media stuff came along, you see these people and kind of just they're different than what you meet in real life. So keeping them on the right mentality is what I would like to do.
Well, some fascinating stuff there, Steve. Well, where to start really? He's not going to retire. There were some calls saying, you know, he's been through so many wars, maybe it's time, but he wants another crack, Jamie Conlon.
Yeah, it looks like MTK have braced himself for this will be just reading between the lines there. This will be Jamie's final assault at the big time. I think that's fair enough to have one more go at it, but I think the next defeat Jamie suffers will be the last one. This is the final. Although he hasn't had, you know, a long, you know, professional career, there are miles on the clock, and I think all these fights that we've had on BoxNation, I can't think of a fighter who's been in more exciting fights. He has been the Irish Arturo Gatti, and that's a great compliment that people have branded him that. But I'm not sure, you know, what mileage there is left. So I think he's right to see what is left, and of course, with his brother having a homecoming late May, early June, it's only right that him and his brother do share the same platform as professionals. So a lot of the times, you know, you might say, oh, he's had a lot of hard fights. Perhaps he should retire. He's got a nice job with MTK, helping bring fighters through. They've looked after him handsomely. But in his case, I don't blame him for one more assault at the world title. But wow, what a division.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What a division
there was no sort of easy, I'll put in inverted commas, world title fights for him, and he ended up fighting Ancajas, and kid's a monster.
There was hoping, I know Frank Warren was hoping, and MTK, that Nui was going to move up, but he kept hanging on to that title. I mean, one more defence. It finally looks like he will relinquish it, and I know they were so confident he was going to relinquish last year. They was even looking at the Rexo fight for around the last autumn for the vacant title, but I knew he had another defence, so the Ancajas chance come up. It was a gamble they had to take. No one can say that, you know, he's at the stage of his career, Jamie. What do? Keep having wars at domestic level and international class level, or do you go in at the deep end and see how far you can swim? He went into the deep end and beat someone who could prove himself to become one of the elite world champions. I mean, the comparisons with Pacquiao are a bit mad. They might be southpaws and from the Philippines, but they're different fighters altogether. I know everyone wants a new Manny Pacquiao. Hey, who's to say he can't eventually make the same impact as Manny Pacquiao? When Manny Pacquiao went to America, I think it was 5 or 6 fights before he got a marquee name in Barrera. So I think it was Barrera before Marquez, or was it Marquez before Barrera? I think it was Barrera first.
Yeah, I think that was his coming out party.
Yeah, that was his coming out. And there'll be a fight that gives him this chance. And obviously, Top Rank are avoiding this Superfly series. They want to get him exposure on ESPN, where there's, as great as the Superfly series is, and let's hope we have some of these Superfly fights on BoxNation. The ESPN audience, the platform is vast.
Yeah, well, one thing I'd say on that is if there's any promoter that knows how to bring through a flash firecracker of a Filipino fella, it's Bob Arum.
Top Rank know exactly what they're doing. They've done this for they've been doing this since the 60s. When Bob come into boxing, they know how to build fighters. They know how to right fight, right time. Look at the fights for De La Hoya. They were instrumental in a lot of Mayweather's early career. To me, still, they are the creme de la creme of boxing promoters. I don't know how long Bob's going to go on for in boxing. He's been quite brilliant. That even he's 85 or 86.
He's relentless. He'll be going for another 100 years.
He is relentless. How he sells a fight. And if you're in Vegas Fight Week when Bob's got a big show on Top Rank, there's his stepson Todd DeBerth, who will take over the company eventually, and various other press officers, old school press officers, new school people, like yourself, Dev, who know all the YouTube. There's people old school, can you say like myself, who know how the workings and newspapers, and they've got the balance right there. But what Bob does, he stays in that press room every day from 10 o'clock till 7 o'clock at night. Sell that fight. I remember once I was there for one Top Rank card. It was a Pacquiao fight. I can't remember the opponent. And I was there for Boxing Monthly. I wanted to do an interview with Bob on his career in boxing. So I went and asked Bob. I wanted Steve from Boxing Monthly. How you do? Oh, yeah, good to meet you, Steve. So he thinks I want to get some quotes on the Pacquiao fight. I said, I want to do an interview with Boxing Monthly in your career on boxing. You want to do an interview with me on boxing? On me in boxing? I'm here to sell up. Goddamn. Bleep, bleep, fight this week. Come and see me after the weigh-in when the work's done. True story. I want to see him after the weigh-in, and he was fantastic. But that's how he operates, Bob Arum.
Well, I need to meet Bob Arum. I mean, he sounds like a hell of a dude.
And we're going to try and get him on the podcast.
Yes.
We could do in the summer when it's a bit quieter. We could do a Bob Arum special.
If there's anyone in boxing that can facilitate that, it is you, Steve Lillis. I know you can.
We're going to do a special one week when it's a quiet in the summer. We'll do a one-off special. And it'll be half an hour or 40 minutes of Bob Arum talking his time in boxing.
Very nice. And just a quick word back on Jamie Conlon.
Sorry, I went off topic. I apologise,
We're still generally talking about NKS, etc. Never apologise, Steve, for talking boxing on BoxNation's podcast. Now back on Conlon. So you asked him a great question there about how has boxing changed since when he started boxing, the advent of social media, etc., etc. I thought some of that was absolutely fascinating.
He's a great example to show boxers how it's done. Warn them of the pitfalls, what to do on social media, what not to do. And Jamie hasn't been about forever. It just shows how boxing and social media has evolved over the last few years, how important it is. And people like myself who are in their 50s, I get how important it is now because I see it. I get how important it is, and it shouldn't. That and YouTube should never be understated. You only have to look at the celebrity, the YouTubers who had the fight at the O2, not the O2, at the Copper Box the weekend. A massive crowd in there. I think over 1 million people watched the fight, and it was quite staggering because it was the guy CSI who's like KSI. I do apologise. And I met K. I was introduced to KSI once.
Oh, really?
By at a Frank Buglioni fight. I think he was quite put out. I never had a Scooby-Doo who he was. About 10 minutes later, during a break, I rang my daughters. And they went mad that I never got a picture with CSI. And he was a bit put out that I never knew him. But I thought, CSI, man.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s, dude. Well, how am I going to know you?
Yeah. No, exactly.
But it just shows that fight just shows the importance of YouTube to the world these days. Social networking. Yeah.
Did you catch that fight then? Did you catch CSI against Paul Weller?
No, I never. I don't even know. Did Paul? I don't even.
Joe Weller.
Is it Joe Weller? I don't know. I've never. I know CSIs now because I met him. The other guy I don't know, but it just shows the pull of these people that you know. Going back to myself again, when you was a young, when I was, you know, to check even when I was starting out. I had this funny conversation at the weekend with John Donald, who done a fantastic piece on the Boxing Monthly website, trying to track down footage of the guy who got bashed up by Ramirez, Gilberto Ramirez. Yeah. Is it Habib Ahmed, the Ghanaian? And John tried all week and he finally found a bit of footage, tried all these people, couldn't get nothing. So I messaged John, I said, John, this is how, when I was starting out, Mickey Duff will tell you this guy's coming over to fight so-and-so. He's been in camp with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's turned down fights him. He's knocked out A, B and C. He's only lost twice in 30 fights. And you have to take this at face value. And to get him actually checked out, there's a book called Ralph Citro's Fight Facts, F-A-X. You'll get why in a minute. And you'd have to buy the book every year, which is about 50 quid. And it was outdated within months because it would be 3 months out. You know, it only come out every year. And if you wanted an up-to-date record, you'd have to give Ralph Citro your debit card number or credit card number, and he'd fax you the actual up-to-date record. So you'd see these guys were 38 and 37. When Mickey Duff or someone had told you they were 38 and, you know, or they wouldn't have lied about the record. They would have said never been stopped. But there's 6 knockout losses on there.
So this is before BoxRec and YouTube.
Yeah, so we're not even going back. You know, we're going back to the late 1990s. Okay, we're going back 2 decades, 20 years, but that's not a lifetime.
Wow,
so it just shows how things have evolved in boxing through YouTube, BoxRec, Twitter. You know, nothing now is a secret. Yeah. You know, you can check everything out.
Which is why you know, opponents often get panned. You know, the sort of fighters that you could bring over 20 years ago to fight one of your prospects. Nowadays, you just can't do it because the eyeball's on it.
Yeah, the eyeball's on it. You'll know, and also, and then those, okay, then the record will come in, and Mickey Duff or whoever would say, you know, any promoter, Frank Warren would say, well, he's had 18 fights and 5 losses. But he's never been stopped, and yeah, you take that at face value. That's right. They're not, but you'll see people who'd seen the last 3 fights, and you wouldn't have seen them. No one would have seen them box. But these days, people look at the record. Oh, 18 fight, he's not too bad, but he's lost 2 out of his last 4. But 2 of the last 4, he looked an old fighter. Stuff like that. So you know, little things you know now. People know now that there's no hiding place now.
Modern boxing fans.
Modern boxing, and that's what it is. It's, you know.
And a quick word, Steve, you mentioned it there. So WBO World Super Middleweight Champion Gilberto Ramirez, he stopped Habib Ahmed in the 6th round. You were in the studio for that. Quick recap for me. It was a bit of a strange fight for me.
I thought he could have got him out the way earlier. I think Gilbert Ramirez is a good fighter. I mean, he throws his shots, he's exciting. But after about 3 rounds, when there was nothing coming back at all, there was little ambition, little clue what Ahmed had, little clue what to do. All right, I've seen Gilbert had gone through the gears quicker and stopped him. Saying that, he got him out the way when he did, but I think he could have done that a little bit earlier. Realised that this guy was no threat at all, and just absolutely blitzed him. And I was raging he never stopped him in 4 rounds because I had a bet 3-1 in
really?
4 rounds. So that's why I was a bit hard. But no, he's a good fighter, Ramirez, and the thing he's got is his size.
He's huge, isn't he?
He's huge.
Is he as big as Callum Smith for the weight, or is he a bit shorter?
Hey,
they're both monsters.
He's about 6'2", but Cullen might use his height a bit better because he does fight a little bit. He doesn't, as big as Ramirez is and still looks big, he crouches down a little bit in his stance, so he doesn't fight 6'2". But he's huge. He's wide, he's broad, and he's one of those guys you look at and you wonder where he made the weight. During the early part of the show on Saturday, we saw him arriving in this red tracksuit, flashed up on the screen, and it looked like a cruiserweight that was in there. If you said, oh, this guy's boxing tonight, and you'd say, oh, I didn't know there was a cruiserweight fight on tonight if you didn't recognise him. He's absolutely huge. He looked about 3 divisions bigger than Ahmed.
Well, I think Ahmed was kind of turning his back and running away.
Just on the back foot all night. I mean, and that's when, because he was on the back foot, that's why I would have liked to see Ramirez go a bit sooner. But you know, maybe I'm just picking holes in him. Ramirez is up, you know, is rightly, you know, it's a division that some very good. I don't think any of the champions. Look, Groves is very good. They're all very good, but there's no one out there who if you could poll 100 boxing fans around the world, and you wouldn't have someone winning it by a landslide. Maybe De Gaulle, if he'd stayed champion, people would have recognised him. So it's a really competitive division, and I think Ramirez is going to be in some very, very good fights over the next year or so. And who knows, in a couple of years' time, and it wouldn't surprise me if he was the man standing at the top. Just it wouldn't surprise me if it was De Gaulle who bounced back and got back to the top, that sort of thing. You know, it's that sort of division right now.
Jesse Hart was also in action, a former foe of Ramirez, and he impressed. He got a KO win. That was a hell of an uppercut he threw there, wasn't it?
Yeah, the opponent was too bob though, Dev. It was a great uppercut. It was wasted on that opponent. Hey, he's still number 1 with the WBO, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was a rematch for that, because I think people like Gilbert Ramirez, they're waiting to see what happens with the World Boxing Super Series. Whether you know what Caleb Trout if he fights
up to? Yeah.
De Gaulle, if De Gaulle wins that. So I think they're waiting for the division to sort itself out. And he gave Ramirez a good fight, but it's a fight. If they had a rematch, Ramirez would be expected to win, but it would be competitive. Certainly not more competitive than the 2 world title fights we had from Corpus Christi on Saturday night. But there you go. We can't have Wars, Glory and silky boxing skills from both men in every show we have on BoxNation.
Well, speaking of silky boxing skills, I caught someone on the undercard of that show from Corpus Christi over the weekend, and I'd never properly sort of seen him box before, but I really liked him. Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, the Honduran Olympian, is that the guy?
Goodness me, yeah, I think that's the guy.
He lives in Brooklyn. For some reason, he went down that route to fight for Honduras in the Olympics. He got beat in the first stage, but when last year's Olympics are over, Top Rank always steam in and have their dabs on them, and that was the first one they signed. So the talent scouts they have at Top Rank, guys like Carl Moretti, who was one of their matchmakers also, who's forgotten more than many people know. Been in boxing for years. He was part of the main events team when Lennox Lewis was around. You know, the guys that do their talent spotting were white hot on him, and he's some on another career. Some of the prospects they got, you know, Michael Conlon, Shaka Stevenson.
Oh, yeah.
It's staggering. And that's why Top Rank, they always seem to stay one step ahead of the opposition in America. They sign these cream amateurs like Don King. When he was the king of boxing in America, he very rarely signed Olympians.
Right.
He waited until they established themselves. Very rare for Don to go out, but Top Rank do like to build the kids from the start, and they may be at an advantage to sign many of them because they've got a proven track record of making them champions.
Bringing them through. Well, with this Teofimo Lopez fellow, what impressed me, it's probably not the same sort of thing that impressed you, Steve. I like that in between rounds he was dancing. Yeah, I like that he tapped his ankle with his glove before punching someone in the face. I love all that kind of stuff, the showboating.
Go back to what we were saying about the new generation of boxing fan who are YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. That's the sort of stuff they want to see.
6-second clips.
And that's why, you know, we're from different generations of boxing, but I identify with that. That's what they want to see. They want to see this guy who dances in the corner and flicks his ankle when he does.
Well, there was another, well, at least one more great fight over on at the weekend. It wasn't on BoxNation, but there was plenty of sauce. Murat Gassiev stopped Junior Dorticos in the last round of a cruiserweight classic to progress to the final of the World Boxing Super Series. He'll take on pre-tournament favourite Alexander Usyk later in the year. Steve, the tournament is just fire, isn't it?
The cruiserweight tournament in this has been absolutely fantastic. Gassiev, the guy he stopped the other night, Breedis, Usyk, they have been absolutely fantastic. But I'm not going to blow BoxNation's trumpet. We've had these great cruiserweight fights on BoxNation for years, and they're now gone in this World Super Series. These guys, who are in these wildly exciting fights, absolutely fantastic. The final is going to be brilliant. You got, you know, people. You know, what has impressed me about it is there was people who I know who watch boxing, but aren't hardcore fans. We'll call them casuals.
Sure.
And that's not disrespect to them. It's like, you know, I'm a casual fan for some sports. There's not a people don't get offended by this word casuals, but it's not disrespecting them. So, you know, a couple of people I called casuals sent me a message on Twitter, so a friend saying, "Oh, I've just watched that boxing on ITV4. That Gassiev's a beast." So I said to him, "Yeah, and the guy he's fighting in the finals, red hot to beat him." And they're like, "What?" You know?
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. The Sowlands have done great with it. We've got a great fight coming up in Manchester in a couple of weeks with Groves and Eubank. Do
you know, they're doing it so well where after, you know, it's all sort of determined, you know, this fighter is going to fight the winner of this fight, etc., etc. They have the other fighter there in the ring to face off with them. Okay, here's this product now finished. Here's the next one. Get a little taste of it. It's fantastic.
Good. I mean, you know, I don't know what, you know, the long-term future is. As great as the tournament been, it's got to show to the money men that it's making money. And look, it's been brilliant, but I don't think ITV have paid a fortune for it. They're looking at making the revenue on ITV. So I think there's going to be at least one more series. I understand lightweight is one, and Liam Walsh is going to go into it.
Now, Steve, it's that time of the week again. Something has irritated you. You appear irked, bothered, miffed, dare I say. So let me ask you this. What you talking about, Lillis?
Miffed is the word. Jimmy Miff. I'm miffed. I'm miffed over Watergate in Liverpool last Tuesday. And that's 7 days ago now, 8 days ago, when Amir Khan chucked the water over Phil LaGreco. And I love Amir Khan. I won't have a word against him in any form. That was an absolute stunt. If you only have to look at it. If you're on holiday with your missus and there's a kids running around, they say, "I'm going to throw water over you, mister." You'll say, "Go on then, by the pool. Throw the water." You don't move. If they just throw it, your natural reaction jumps back. There was a couple pictures there. One where Eddie Hearn doesn't move as the water's been thrown.
There's a smirk.
The guy next to Beppy, whatever he's called, the guy looks like the EastEnders extra. He just laughs. Then suddenly they all realise, oh, we better jump up now. That was an absolute stunt. And we're seeing this too much that, you know, look, you do need Needle. Josh Warrington against Selby is Needle. We see Billy Joe in Needle fights. Him and Martin Murray isn't Needle. Two men who do want to go in there and do damage to each other. But there isn't Needle. It just seems every fight, you know, Sky, look, they have some great fights on there. But I know people are going to accuse me of bashing them because we're BoxNation. But it seems every fight has to be a background story, like a UFC story, good or bad. Good, you can get away with that sometimes. You know, the way they sold a Coley against Chamberlain was fantastic. Yeah. But that last week was an absolute stunt. Absolute stunt. There was no need for it. Amir Khan's been on mainstream TV for before Christmas with 2, 3, 4 million viewers a night watching him eat strawberries at 9 o'clock at night with a load of celebrities. His I'm a Celeb colleagues turned up at the press conference and they need to pull that stroke. Pull the other one. That wasn't real.
Are you suggesting, Steve, that Amir Khan wasn't offended by Phil LaGreco bringing up a tweet that Amir Khan had put up about his wife?
I'm suggesting that was a stunt. If I'm wrong, prove me wrong.
Okay, we'll put that to the listeners. That's what Steve Lillis is talking about this week. He thinks that Amir Khan throwing water over Phil LaGreco after Phil LaGreco brought up a tweet that Amir Khan put out himself was all a stunt. Well, we've just had news come through that Frank Warren will be putting a show on the 24th of February. So this is kind of the rearranged Copperbox show from February the 10th. So Anthony Yard is back. He's fighting Tony Avalant. Daniel Dubois is back. He's fighting DL Jones. And Zelfa Barrett is back. He's fighting at the York Hall and he will be fighting
Ronnie Clark.
Ronnie Clark, yes, Steve Lewis. Look at you, and there you are, saving me. So that's a big show. That's going to be on BoxNation as well on the 24th of February. And it's at York Hall. I think there are going to be some, you should be able to go to Ticketmaster and grab some tickets, the limited ones that are available. Steve, you excited to see these guys back?
Yeah, it must probably be the last time that we see them at somewhere like York Hall. Because they are moving through the ranks so quickly.
Yeah.
I would get your tickets quickly because it will absolutely sell out either through any of the boxers on there or through, is it Ticketmaster who do them? But
yeah,
DL Jones, I think he's 8 or 9 unbeaten against Daniel Dubois. Big ask for him. Let's not, you know, it would already be the upset of 2018 if he beat him.
Yeah.
Tony Avalant for Anthony Yard.
What do we know about him?
He's fought at the European level. I think we had him on Box Nation when he lost to Jürgen Bremer in a couple of rounds.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, look, I think he's pretty durable. I think he might have lost that one, but he is pretty durable. But Ronnie Clark against Zelfa Barrett, that's the fight that catches me. You know, Zelfa will be a big favourite to win for sure, but I think Ronnie is the sort of guy who will be in his face all night.
He'll bring it.
He'll bring it. He'll be in front of him, and Zelfa will have to, Zelfa's a hot favourite to win, but it'd be some achievement if he can get Ronnie out the way there.
Mm-hmm. And I think I'm thinking for Daniel Dubois, his highlight reel. Yeah, I'm expecting him to win by knockout. I'm expecting him to get another knockout. And what's missing from his highlight reel so far is a knockout at York Hall. And why not?
Oh, why not? Nothing at all. It's fantastic that these guys are fighting at York Hall. It's brilliant that they're going to the spiritual home of British boxing. As I said at the start of the segment, we won't see them there much more. But the problem that worries me, and I say it often with Dubois, is finding opponents to give him rounds, because he just bangs people out. He hits that hard. He is for real. I really do believe that. You know, Frank Warren's matchmakers have got their work cut out, getting people in, not just to fight him, the guys that are going to take him 5, 6, 7 rounds. And, you know, you just don't see at the level he's fighting at the moment, even though these guys are unbeaten and got winning records, there's just no one at this level who can do it at the moment. And I think that, you know, by the end of the year, he'll be moving through the gears and going to all solid international opposition.
Well, that show is going to be live on Box Nation on the 24th of February. If you want to subscribe to Box Nation, go to boxnation.com. We've got so much coming up. There's going to be more shows announced in the coming weeks. Just go on the website, press a few buttons, and you will have Box Nation on your TV. And here's a few dates and times that you might want to punch into your calendar. Now, the World Series of Boxing, I often get that confused with the World Boxing Super Series. There's WSB, WBSS, WWE, there's so many, isn't there? But the World Series of Boxing will be on at various times over the next couple of weeks. Steve, you a big fan of the WSB?
I enjoy it. It really are. We don't call them amateur boxers anymore. Your Olympic style, whatever they call it. But look, it's a fantastic competition. The level of matchmaking is really high. You don't see a mismatch because they're all have fought on the highest stage, and it's a fantastic ground for guys before they turn over with professional promoters as such.
Yeah.
And that's why if you've had vast WSB experience, it's why you can be rushed.
Well, keep an eye on the Box Nation schedule on the Twitter page as well, and we'll let you know exactly when these shows are on. Now, Friday, 7 o'clock is Bunce's Boxing Hour, and, well, last week he had O'Hara Davis live on the sofa. He really put it on him, and it was a fantastic, fascinating interview. I don't know who he's got coming this week. Oh, Steve, you're making faces. Go on.
I've got a feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, I've got a feeling Jack Cattrall's coming down.
Good.
A rival O'Hara Davis. I know that there's a plan to get Michael Conlon in the next couple of weeks as well, but I think he's going to Monaco for some warm weather training for a week or so. But I've got a feeling Jack Cattrall might be on this week.
Well, that'll be good, and that's Friday at 7 o'clock. We'll also try and get that live on Facebook for you. We were live on there last week, and look out for that. Friday at 8 o'clock is A Fight to Remember, and it's Ricky Hatton versus Kostya Tszyu. One of your favourite ever fights, right, Steve?
Yeah, some fantastic build up to it. An amazing night in the early hours of a Saturday night, Sunday morning in Manchester, and it was a night Ricky Hatton, although he was a big star in Britain by then, he was a mainstream star in this country. It was a night he showed he'd arrived on the world scene, and he became a star, bigger star as he was here. A global boxing star was born that night. Absolutely incredible night. Middle of the night, the arena was Manchester Arena packed to the rafters. The noise for 2 o'clock in the morning was phenomenal. And then Ricky delivered the performance of a lifetime.
Well, that's Friday at 8 o'clock. Fantastic show to look back on. Sunday. Now, if you can't get yourself to sleep on Sunday, look, and really, guys, you should be sort of in bed by 10, right, max. What, 8 for you, Steve? Well, when do you sort of go to bed on Sunday?
If I've done an overnighter at Box Nation, about 8:30,
Yeah.
A normal night,
yeah.
10:30 at the latest.
At the latest, well,
I'm not, as you know, I'm up early every day, but I'm in bed early every night. I'm not a party boy like you and Mrs. Sani, mate.
Sleep all day, party all night.
Yeah.
You know. But if you can't go to sleep on Sunday, if you're a bit of a night owl, how about 11 o'clock? Greatest boxing classics. Antonio Tarver, the Magic Man, against Charles Oliver. Now, Steve, earlier on I said in this show that Antonio Tarver and Shannon Briggs were American legends, and you poo-pooed the idea.
No, I'm not saying they're not legends. I mean, legends is a strong word.
Tarver, come on, he beat Roy Jones. Give me a say.
He was a great light heavyweight. He was fantastic, but he would never have beaten. Roy Jones is a legend.
So you're not giving it to Tarver, but
yeah, he's been a great fighter. Legend is a big praise. Doesn't stop him being a great fighter.
Okay, Steve. Well, Antonio Tarver, the great fighter, perhaps legend, is on Sunday, 11 o'clock on Greatest Boxing Classics against Charles Oliver. And we expect to announce plenty more shows in the coming weeks, so keep an eye on the BoxNation social platforms and go to BoxNation.com if you want to subscribe to the channel. You can cancel whenever you like, but really you shouldn't because it's so brilliant. So, Steve, another week, another fantastic podcast. We had Tyson Fury's new trainer, we had 2 Conlans, we had OD version 2. Did you enjoy yourself?
I always enjoy it. It was good fun, good chat, good interviews, or, certainly, give us some insight into what's going on in the boxing world. I thought Jamie Conlon interview was very good. We got going towards the end about Twitter and how boxing's changed.
Yeah.
And
that started you off as well.
Yeah, and he's still a young man, Jamie Conlon, so that shows how quickly it's evolved.
Let me put something else out there. Reviews do not write themselves. So help us out here. Throw us a bone. Validate us. Leave us a review on iTunes to let us know that what we are doing here is worthwhile. Oh no, it's worthwhile. I look at Steve every week. Regardless of whether or not you like the show, I get Steve Lillis's company once a week, and it's a beautiful thing. Remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, and at Sani Dev. And remember,